Hey guys, what is up? It is Carl Plankens with Plankens Networking, and today we are going to be doing a computer build. We're going to be building a computer with a gigabit board, which is going to be the F2A68HMH, and then we're going to be putting a CX500 Corsair power supply in it with an AMD A10 10 Series 6850K FM2 Plus processor in it. And we are also going to be throwing in a Western Digital Blue 1TB hard drive. And we're going to be throwing in some Ballista, which I am not sure of the maker of. I'd have to double check. 8GB DDR3 RAM in there as well. So, to start off, what I personally like to do when I'm building a computer is I like to get the power supply in first. And that also depends on the case. I should say that too. If it's not a case where the power supply is able to be tucked in on the bottom like this, where you know it's not going to interfere with the motherboard, then I probably want to do it first, honestly. But in my case, I don't have to worry about it touching the motherboard because I have a very small motherboard for this computer. In fact, I believe that the motherboard is only going to come to right about right here. So, the reason I personally like to do it first is because I like to do cable management with it. So I like to be able to run all my cables that I'm going to be using to where they're going to be going. And as you guys can see, this case actually has some great cable management right here. And back here, it's got tons of room to hide some cables, so I'm pretty excited about that. It'll make it look the inside look nice and neat. It does only have one 120mm fan, so I'll probably get a few more. But it does support 2 coming up here, and it does have. I didn't cover this in the unboxing because I didn't notice it, but it does have a filter for the power supply. So where the power supply is has a filter. We'll just set that over there and we'll put it back on when we're done. So I'm going to start putting in the power supply, and hopefully we get this done in 6 minutes, because that's all the time I have left on this SD card. Okay, so here's our CX500 power supply. You guys saw me unbox this in one of my videos. If you watched it, if you haven't, you can go back on my channel and look it up and watch it. So hey guys, I was just looking at something really fast. I do have to find the screws for this. There we go. And there you have it, you guys. The power supply is in there. It is right there. And that is all I'm going to be doing for now. I'm going to go switch out this SD card with another one, and I'll be right back. Okay, you guys, we are back. So we are just going to be switching around the cables, seeing what we need where. Okay, so I thought we would need some IED cable pass-throughs, which I believe they did have some on here, and they did, but we actually don't. So all we really need is our SATA cable, our pin for our power supply, and then our pin for our CPU. So we're going to have to find the pin to the CPU and make sure that it stays out. Okay, we have the cables we need for our CPU and our motherboard. We do not need this one. Then we just need to save our SATA cable. which is going to be this one, and we will put the rest behind us for now. So all the cables I don't want, I am going to route back here somehow, some way. And just kind of tie them back here, because there's some ties back there for it. So we need one SATA cable, which I do believe I already have, except for I have a 3-port one. We'll probably just go with the 2-port one. That way it's easier to hide the cable. And the rest we will take back here. Okay guys, I am done with the cable management. And so we are going to put in our motherboard. But before we do put in our motherboard, I am actually going to move the case off for a sec. Because one thing I like to do when I am building a computer, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, is I do not want to have to put a bunch of stuff in while the motherboard is in the case. Because it just makes it a lot harder, in my opinion, to be able to do anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the CPU on and the RAM in before we put the computer into the case. Okay, so there's our first stick of RAM. And here goes our second. Okay, and now we are going to put in our CPU and our CPU cooler. Now I will be using the stock AMD heatsink for this, just because I will not actually be using this for a whole lot of gaming, so I'm not or video rendering or anything, so I'm not really too concerned about it getting too hot. And a lot of people said that they have a tendency of getting hot. So I'm not too terribly worried about that. If I do run in some thermal throttling, then I'll just switch out the heatsink. I don't see any reason to pay for something I don't have to pay for when it comes with the CPU. So we are going to take this out. I do want to make sure that I am grounded so that I do not mess anything up. And I'm going to look for the triangle on the motherboard. And then I'm going to line this up with that, which is right there. Now, for those of you that have watched some videos on how to put in a processor, when you are putting in a processor, you want to make sure that you do not push down on it. So when you're putting it in, you just want to just drop it in, it'll fall into place. If you have to put any kind of pressure onto it, then you're bending the pins and you just ruined your processor. And 9 times out of 10, your warranty doesn't cover you ruining it. Okay, so now we're going to put on our CPU cooler. I'm going to look for where my plug-in is, which is right there. So I'm going to be putting it on this way. I think I actually have to have this up too. I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out in a sec. Okay, guys, we are back. Sorry, I had to switch out SD cards again. And we are going to be putting in the motherboard now. So we're just going to kind of ease it into place. We're not really going to force anything, just make sure that everything lines up. Okay, and then we're going to screw it in. So we did get some screws from Corsair as well for this, which is very nice. And we're definitely going to use them because they're black and the motherboard is black. And I think so far this build looks pretty darn good, in my opinion. So we are going to continue with the black scheme. Now when you're tightening these down, this is something I've been told by a lot of people. You don't want to do it too tight, but you don't want to do it too loose. So you just kind of want to find that spot where it kind of like just nudges into place where you can feel like it doesn't want to go anymore, but it doesn't want to come loose anymore. So you just kind of want to wiggle it around and make sure that you're in that sweet spot for it. Also, if you're building a computer and you've never done it before, I highly recommend getting a magnetic screwdriver, because it'll make it a lot easier to get to the screws that are in these far back corners, like the ones I'm putting in right now are. And for those of you wondering, this is actually my first build with an AMD processor. I've always used Intel before this, but the AMD A10, 12-core, being a 12-core processor, 4 computing cores and 8 graphical cores, is definitely a huge advantage to most of the Intel processors out there right now because they are super expensive. For example, the Intel's i7-6700, which I believe it comes in a quad-core with hyper-threading, so technically it's an 8-core. And then they have the Extreme Edition, which is even higher. But they usually range from about $300 to $400. Just make sure that these are all filled in, that we have no screws that we did not put into place. And it looks like we're good. So we're just going to put these back into the bag and we'll use them on another build if we ever have to. Okay, so we have that in place now. Now we're going to start plugging some stuff in, which is the exciting part. So hey guys, we are back. I was just tightening up some cables in the back that I noticed that I decided to just clean up, even though I said I wasn't going to. And now we are going to plug in our CPU power and our motherboard power. We're just going to hide this one away, because it does not look like there is input for that on this board. Now we are going to connect all of these. Okay. And then the next part is the easiest part. And the part that I am excited that we are finally at. We are going to be installing our 1 terabyte Western Digital Blue Drive. All I literally have to do for this is drop it in there like so, because it has these little clips that are already in here that make it so that the hard drive doesn't have to be screwed in, because it is just going to stay. If I can get them lined up. Like that. So you are going to be putting it on backwards, and then it's just going to slide into place like that. Now before I put it into place, I do want to get my cables connected. And here is our SATA cables. I'm going to use the 2 that are straight, just because that's how I'm going to do it. And you want to make sure you plug this into your SATA 0 drive port on your motherboard, and just connect it and slide it back into place. Now we're just going to put on our case cover and we'll be done. In most cases, yours will have this. If you have a windowed case, you're going to want to peel off your covering now, because you are done working on it, so there's no chance of you getting fingerprints on it now unless you touch it. And there is actually one more thing we do have to do before I forget about it, and that is put on the pop filter for, well, I mean not the pop filter, but the dust filter.